Physics 3. Today we're going to be talking about using proportions. So proportions is basically when two ratios that you have are equal. So when you can simplify them or get a unit rate and they're both the same, then that shows that these ratios are proportional. Now, one of those ways that another way to find if different ratios are proportional is to use the cross product. So it's exactly how it sounds. Product is the answer to a multiplication problem, and so you're going to be multiplying the cross numbers. Now this shows whether it's proportional or not. So for example here, if you have 12 over 84 and then equals to 24 over 168, and you want to see, is that really a true proportion? Then you need to go ahead and cross multiply. So that means we're going to do 168 times 12, and we're going to get 2016. And then we're going to do 84 times 24 and get 2016. So since both of these numbers are the same, then they're balanced. So that means that this is a proportional equation here. So let's go ahead and try to use this cross product method to figure out if different equations are proportional and to solve for different missing variables. So like sometimes we're going to have the numerator is going to be a variable, sometimes the denominator is going to be a variable, and we can use this product, the cross product method, to figure out what that missing variable is. Alright, let's go ahead and do some. Let's go ahead and look at example number 1. Now remember, we're going to be using the cross product method. So we're going to use the cross multiplication to be able to figure out what x is equal to. Now, since there's an equal symbol here that tells us that both of these ratios are proportional, so now we're going to go ahead and use the cross product. So I'm going to do 20 times x, which is going to give me 20x, equals. So think of it as in this 20 is going up here with the x, so it's going to be on this side of the equal sign. Now we're going to go ahead and bring the 4 up to the 7 and do 4 times 7, which is going to give you 28. So now we can go ahead and solve for to see what x is equal to. So we're going to go ahead and divide by 20 on both sides. Cancel out. And now we're going to go ahead and simplify. So we have 28 over 20. Alright, so when you have 28 over 20, now we're going to go ahead and divide them to figure out what our decimal is. So we're going to do 28 divided by 20. So 20 goes into 28 obviously one time. So 1 times 20 gives you 20. We subtract and we get 8. So now let's go ahead and make it a decimal. And add a 0 and bring down our 0. So how many times does 20 go into 80? It goes in 4 times. So that means x is equal to 1.4 or 1 4/10. Alright, let's go ahead and solve number 2. We have two proportions here. 3.2 over 9 equals n over 36. So we're going to use the cross products to figure out what n is equal to. So I'm going to do 36 times 3.2. So I'm going to do 36 times 3.2. Remember, you don't have to line up your decimals when it comes to multiplying. So 2 times 6 gives you 12. And then 2 times 3 gives you 6, plus 1 gives you 7. You have 0. We have 3 times 6 gives you 18. 3 times 3 gives you 9, plus 1 gives you 10. So we have 2, 15, minus 1. So that means we need to put our decimal place in here. So we have 115.2 equals 9 times n, or 9n. So let's go ahead and solve for n by dividing by 9. Now remember, we're dividing because if we do 9 times n, we want to undo it to figure out what n is by itself. So instead of multiplying by 9, we're going to divide by 9 on both sides to keep it balanced. So this is going to cancel out. So we are going to have n equals something, which is exactly what we want. So now let's go ahead and do 115.2, or in 2/10 divided by 9. So 9 goes into 1 0 times, 9 goes into 11 1 time, and 9 we're going to subtract, we're going to get 2, bring down our 5. 9 goes into 25, it goes in about 2 times, we're going to get 18. So we're going to go ahead and subtract, and we're going to get 7. So we're going to bring down our 2. 9 goes into 72 how many times? It goes in perfectly 8 times. So 8 times 9 gives you 72, subtract, you're going to get 0. So 128, or 12.8 is going to be our variable. So n is going to be equal to 12.8. Alright, let's go ahead and continue. Our last problem, like this, is 3 over t equals 18 over 24. So we're going to use our cross product method to solve. So we're going to do 24 times 3. So 24 times 3. 3 times 4 gives you 12. 3 times 2 gives you 6 plus 1 gives you 7. So we have 72 equals t times 18, which gives you 18t. So now we need to solve for t. So we're going to divide by 18 on both sides. And that's going to cancel this out. Remember, we're dividing because 18 times t, we want to undo it. So we're going to divide by 18, which is the inverse operation of multiplication. So now let's go ahead and figure out how many times it goes into 72. So 72 divided by 18. So 72 divided by 18, it goes in exactly 4 times. And I'll give you 72. Subtract, you're going to get a remainder of 0. So that shows that our variable t is equal to 4. So t is equal to 4. All right, let's go ahead and look at a problem that is a word problem. So we're going to have to look at our problem, pick out our proportion, and solve for our missing variable. So it says the wait time to ride a roller coaster is 20 minutes when 160 people are in a line. How long is the wait time when there are 220 people in line? So when you get a word problem like this, the most important thing about setting up your equation is making sure that in this example, we're going to have our time all on one, whether it's all in the numerator or all in the denominator, and we need our people all in one, whether the people are all in the numerator or all in the denominator. So basically what I'm saying is that you can't have minutes over here in the numerator and people in the numerator over here. You have to have it balanced because unless it's completely balanced like that, we won't have a proportion. So let's go ahead and, I'm going to go ahead and put 20 minutes over how many people, it takes 20 minutes for 160 people. 160 people. Now I'm labeling it just so I know that I'm keep setting it up correctly. Because if you don't set it up correctly, you're going to get a wrong answer, and we don't want that. So I know that I want my minutes in the numerator, my people in the denominator. Doesn't matter which way you do it, as long as you do it consistently. And then we need to find what is the wait time for 220 people. Okay, so now I've labeled it with units just to keep me balanced and keep me on the right track. So really you don't have to have those anymore. I'm going to set it up as 20 over 160 equals, I'm going to replace my question mark with a variable, so x over 220. So now let's go ahead and solve. We're going to have to cross multiply. So 220 times 20, so 220 times 20. We're going to get 0 here, so 2 times 0 gives you 0, 2 times 2 gives you 4, 2 times 2 gives you 4. So we have 4,400 equals 160 times x. Okay, so now that we have our equation set up, we need to just go ahead and solve for our variable of x. So it says 160 times x. So if we want to find x by itself, we need to do the inverse operation. So instead of multiplying, we're going to divide. So let's divide by 160 on both sides. That will cancel, which is what we want. Divide by 160. All right, let's go ahead and divide. So if we have 4,400 divided by 160, 160 goes into 440. It goes in about 2 times, so 160 times 2 is going to give you 0, 12, 2, 3. So 320. We're going to go ahead and subtract. We got 0, 4 minus 2 gives you 2, 4 minus 3 gives you 1. We're going to bring down our 0. It goes in about 7 times, so we have 7 times 0 gives you 0, 42, and then 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So it goes in about 11, 20. Let's go ahead and subtract. We get a 0, we get 8, and we need to go ahead and add a decimal. Oh, sorry, I forgot to put 7 up here. Put a 0, bring down our 0, and we get 800. So 160 goes in 800 perfectly 5 times. You're going to get 800. You're going to subtract and get 0. So that means our variable x is going to give us, x should be 27.5, and we're talking about minutes here. And now let's go ahead and just for our own sake, you don't have to have an answer and just hope it's right. You can go back and check. You can also just check about your estimation. What would your estimation be? Does it make sense, your answer? So let's look at it real quick. So it takes 20 minutes for 160 people. And we're trying to see how much it's going to take for 220 people. So obviously we're going up in how many people are in line. So obviously our time has to go up, so that makes sense. You can also do 27.5 divided by 2,200 and do 20 divided by 160 and see if both of those numbers are equal. You can also use the cross multiplication to see if they show that they're proportional. All of those are ways that you can check your own answer. Alright, if you have any questions, rewind the video, watch it again. You can also go back into your textbook and look at some examples that are already done for you to try to figure out if you can fill in some of those gaps. And as always, please bring questions to me tomorrow and I will be happy to answer them for you. So now it's time for you to go ahead and practice a few problems. Alright, you have 3 problems to do for me. For the first 2, go ahead and use the cross product method to figure out what the missing variable is. For number 3, go ahead and read the problem and solve the proportion. Make sure you're setting it up correctly. Good luck. We'll see what you get tomorrow.